Hello and welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Monika.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome to episode 7 of season 2. So in this episode, it's called Light and Shadows. And so it's all about Burnham going back to Vulcan in search of Spock, and where she sort of uncovers some family secrets, while the rest of the team on the Discovery is trying to figure out what is going on with the Red Angel. And Pike and Tyler almost end up lost in time. And we see a little bit of Georgiou, which makes me think, does she have something up her sleeve for Leland in Section 31? Can we trust her or can we not? So let's discuss. Initial reactions. What did you think of this episode?
I really liked the episode. I'm giving it 5 snaps because I thought it was had really cool special effects. That probe from the future was like reminding me of like an octopus kind of thing. There was beautiful shots of Sarek and Amanda's house. Oh, I would love to live there. And I'm also noticed a cute bromance between Pike and Tyler. What do you think?
No, we do not agree with no bromance. I have high hopes for this episode. It was a nice change of pace between all this searching and trying to figure out what's going on. We're now understanding that there's more things coming from the future. There's a bigger hand at play with the Red Angel, that maybe Tyler's right, that we shouldn't trust it. But it still left me wanting. And I think I finally understand what my issue is becoming with Michael. I feel like they make her emotions seem forced. Like, because she's trying so hard to be Vulcan, she's trying to make her emotions seem logical. And I think like in this episode, it really hit home for me that she's like fighting her emotions and trying to make everything she's saying seem logical. And I don't believe it. Like, I'm truly not believing any of like anything that she's emoting anymore because of just how it's coming across. So this episode, I have hopes that it's going in a better direction. I like that it wasn't 100% about Michael. It was a lot about the Discovery crew and Pike and Tyler. But I also want Pike to continue to ride Tyler's behind because, again, Pike is right. Tyler killed a member of the crew. He does not get to just live without guilt because of that. Like, it just, no, not until the person he murdered, Hugh, comes back and absolves him of his sin. And until that happens, which it better not anytime soon, he better live with guilt. That's my initial reaction of this episode.
Before we dive in, I also want to say that after this is the 7th episode in this season, and we finally get a chance to meet Spock.
And
it has taken us a long grind to get here.
And that was a letdown, in my opinion. Like, I understand he's going through some stuff, but we'll discuss it when we get to the whole scene with the mother, because I have some things to say about this family. And maybe I'm just being too cynical and I'm dead inside, but like, there's some things that we need to talk about because I love a ride or die mom, but I don't like stupid mothers. And I feel like she's acting sort of a little bit stupid. So in this episode, it starts off with Michael basically deciding, okay, we know a little bit more about the Red Angel. It is more humanoid with an exoskeleton. So it's not like a distant or unheard of thing. They just believe it's from the future. And so with everything that's still going on with Spock, she decides she's going to go home to Vulcan because she hasn't seen her parents in a while. Like, really? Is that a believable excuse? I didn't believe that excuse. Wow, your brother is going missing, but so you're going to use this time to go home and visit your family because you miss them while you're in search for your brother? That's a really nice coincidence. Like,
when Amanda traveled to see her, like, undisclosed, during her trip, and I think picked up medical records. So Amanda asked for Michael's help a few weeks ago, and Michael was not as interested in helping.
They keep having Michael flip-flop on her, like, they're making her flip-flop a lot. And I'm not really liking that she's becoming so indecisive, and indecisive, I should say is the correct word, because she regularly makes these strong like choices and has like all this backing, and then like out of nowhere she changes her mind. It almost seems like, okay, I had this emotional revelation, and because of that I need to find Spock. You should have been you should have been looking for him anyway. It shouldn't have taken this huge emotional revelation that really wasn't as emotional as you think it is. It's just, it makes it seem like she's so emotional, immature that any small thing of like family is like, I can't, like, I just, it made me really realize that I need to go back for Spock. After Saru like ditched his sister for 20 years, you like, really? That's the hill you want to be like, I got to go find Spock now because I don't want to end up like you guys? Like, it makes it seem she's so emotionally immature that it takes it. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it correctly, but it's just they're making me upset with how they're portraying her, and I need her to be a big, better, stronger character. Is it just me?
It's not. It's just you. I feel that same way, and I'm still not sure what happened between her and Spock that made the two of them like stop talking. Because it seemed like in the flashbacks, Spock was reaching out to her to show her how to separate her fingers for the Vulcan hello. It seemed like at first he was like, he didn't want a sibling in the house, but then he seemed to open up. So I don't know what, that's the big mystery. I want to know, what in the world did Michael say or do that caused this rift? And also we learned that Spock has a form of dyslexia, and I just did not know. I don't know as much about Spock, obviously, that I thought I do, but that he had those challenges.
Yeah, and how Vulcans considered it a weakness because it came from his like human half and not the Vulcan half, because it's not really heard of on Vulcan. And so like this brings us to Amanda. Amanda is like that family member who's a ride or die, but in the wrong sense of like, oh, he didn't do it, so I'm gonna hide him from the law. Like, you realize you're doing more harm than good by like doing that, correct? Like, you want, like, there's a way to be a responsible, like a parent or family member, to where you don't break the law and make it worse for your child while you're trying to protect them. And I feel like she's having a lot of guilt because of what she said earlier in I think a couple episodes earlier, that she wasn't allowed to have emotions with Spock because of Sarek, because he wanted her to raise Spock in the Vulcan manner. So I definitely see that she's doing a lot of this out of like more guilt than mother duty, if that makes sense, because she's trying to protect him now because she couldn't protect him then. And we even see like when Sarek finds out that she lied to him, that he even sort of like demeans her, and she sort of stands up to him. But it's just like, honey, pick the hill you're going to die on, because your son needs help, like medical help. Like, right. It wasn't like he was in his right mind and she was hiding him, because that's one thing, but he's still crazy. Like,
right. Because what she did doesn't solve the problem. Yes. That's not going to help heal Spock, right? Mm-hmm. She does have maternal regret. I also think that there are a lot of mothers and fathers that will protect their kids no matter what, and hide them from the law or whatever else they need to do, just for because it's kin, right?
Yeah. But a lot of times they end up making it worse for their child at the end of that. And not to say, give your kid over without a second thought, but like, come up with a plan, okay, what happened? This is what we got to do. Like, figure out the process to clear them. Don't just hide them. Because it'd be one thing if she was hiding him while he was like in his right mind and they were coming up with a plan to prove his innocence. That is different. But he's in the state where it said that he killed 3 people, and he's in the same state. And if he doesn't really recognize who you are, and he has like an episode, he could harm you and still no one will know. Like, imagine him having to deal with that guilt. So when Michael comes and finds out, and she's like, we need to get him to a hospital because he does need help. She's actually doing the right thing at that. Like, she's doing what she needs to do to protect her brother because he's still a danger to other people. You can't you don't understand what he's saying. And she's trying to do it the correct way because Michael's all about the rules and regulations, but also understanding that she still needs to protect her brother and has to have a plan. Granted, would I have taken him directly to Section 31? Probably not. I would have taken him maybe to a Vulcan because Amanda was correct. She could have said, hey, I'm invoking diplomatic immunity for my son. Let's get him medical help. And like, that's the way you protect your son. Like, you like, hey, look, I'm doing what's within the law, what's correct. Granted, also people don't flame me for this because I know it's TV, it's fake, it's not real life. But like, you have the chance to give your son diplomatic immunity to where he can get help on Vulcan, which is supposed to be the best place in the world to get, the universe for Vulcans. And yet you left him in a cave where no one could help him. Like, Amanda, what are you doing?
Right. And I also want to say that with Sarek's recommendation from Michael to take Spock to Section 31, I think Michael was still in shock. Mm-hmm. And it may have been the first time she heard her parents argue like that, because she seemed to be like, oh, I'm stuck in the middle of this and this is confusion. But Sarek was thinking about how to salvage Michael's career, right, now that she's in the midst of this, mm-hmm. and how to like help Spock and probably think about his own career. So Sarek was like, I'm not prepared to lose both children in the same day. I was thinking he was also thinking about his own ambassadorship too. Now that he knows all of this, he no longer has plausible deniability. Right.
And like, his wife made a active choice. It would have been different if his wife made the choice to say, I'm giving him diplomatic immunity, and kept him aware of everything that's going on. But his wife kept their child as like a fugitive secret. He's like stuck between a rock and a hard place because she made the wrong decision. You can protect your child and still not make stupid decisions. So then we see that Spock is on Section 31, and then Leland gives Michael this whole BS speech about how he's really trying to protect Spock. I don't trust anyone that comes from Section 31. I don't trust right now. Like, I don't care what you say. I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. And that includes Tyler. And he's like, go get some rest. We're near the starbase. Go get some rest. Your brother's in great care. We don't want to harm him. We want to really come to the truth, because Starfleet really wants to know what's going on with these signals and when they're with the Red Angel. And he plays it off so well until Giorgio comes out and is like, yeah, no, forget everything that he just said. They're going to erase your brother's mind. Like, fight me, make it believable, get your brother and get gone. And I didn't trust Giorgio. I honestly was expecting that to be a trap. I was expecting what Giorgio was saying as a trap to trap Michael onto the ship with Spock or something like that, so she couldn't like leave and say something. Like, I was actually quite surprised that Michael got away. What did you think of all of that scene, of that whole scene?
I was surprised that Michael was so willing to walk away from Spock and leave. Like, even turning him in is one thing, mm-hmm. but to leave the quarters where he's at, like, who can vouch for him and make the decisions for him? Like, she's his like medical power of attorney at this point. I don't know how else to describe it, but she needed to stay her butt there in that room and oversee all decisions. So it surprised me that she was get ready to take like a break, a mini vacation or something there. So Michael confuses me sometimes.
Because they have her flip-flop. They have her flip-flop so easily that it's like any decision she makes is no stock in it.
Right. And who's to say he's not going to freak out again like he did in a psych ward and panic or whatever happened. Mm-hmm. And then he killed 3 Starfleet officers, right? Because he wanted to break out. So he could get into, I don't know, another anxiety situation there. She should want to be there, especially after this journey. Mm-hmm. And it's her own kin to be there and in that room. So that was a little weird, but it was a really cool action scene, and I'm glad that Giorgio had the backbone to support Michael in these decisions. And I don't know how Giorgio is finding out all of this information about Leland in Section 31, but she's catching up really quickly, considering she's a fairly new person on the block.
And they need to watch out for that. Like, they should have like killed this chick. They should have killed this chick, because she was an emperor, people. Like, remember, she's used to being in charge. She's not used to taking orders. And if she's taking orders with a little bit of a smile, you need to be worried.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's just face it, Starfleet has not made really good decisions with her since the very beginning.
Yes.
And even giving her the bomb, like a whole bucket load of things. But I'm glad that she was there to help, I don't know, shake some sense into Michael at that point. I was a little surprised, though, that like Sarek or Amanda didn't also go along for the ride. They could have also been in the transport, the shuttle ship, to drop off Spock to Section 31. It didn't have to be Michael alone, basically. So that was a little weird.
So when I thought of that scene, because I thought it was very weird too, I think they were maybe trying to play it off as they were all made aware at the same time that Spock was there. Like, I don't know. Because you're right. It didn't make sense that they weren't there. Like, or maybe it's because they weren't in Starfleet, so they couldn't board a Section 31 ship. I don't know, but it just didn't make sense that at least Amanda wasn't there, because Amanda was like, I'm gonna go toe to toe for my kid, and then like he's on. It just. Oh, I will say though, I do like that Amanda stood up to Sarek, was like, would you have given up your whole life for me?
Right.
Like, I'm not. Amanda is a good mom. She is a good mom, and she does have a lot of guilt, and she does have a lot of like things that she hates that she did to Spock in service for Sarek. But I will say she did have her moment in this episode when she put Sarek in his place. It was like, I've done everything for you. I have given up everything for you.
Right.
I'm not giving up my son. Granted, she was wrong in how she was doing it. Like the execution was, the plan wasn't executed correctly, but the heart was there.
Right. She did the best she could. And then like it was at a point in which she needed help, but she didn't know how. And she couldn't even lie well about it.
Oh my gosh, she couldn't lie well. She could not.
That's the whole other thing. But
if I did know, fight, I wouldn't tell you. Mother, you've always told me the truth. That's how I know you're lying. What? Like, what?
Yeah. It felt like a little soap opera-ish right there.
Yes. And so we see that like Spock, so we see that after Michael gets Spock and takes him like onto like a ship and they get away, and she starts to realize he's saying things backwards, they realize like he's giving them coordinates to a place. And I just have to say, I have to say, they make her emote in such a weird manner that I don't believe it, because when she was telling Spock, like, I'm here, like when she was repeating back like the Mad Hatter thing to him, and she's like, you're emoting so hard that I know it's not real, because I've been injured and crying and in pain, and my brothers would laugh at me, like and like, but no, like they'll talk to me and they'll like, I've been like delirious in pain before, and like there's a way siblings talk to each other. And even when they're going through stuff, like there's a way siblings talk to each other. And while there's serious times, it never comes across as forced as her emotions are coming across to me. At least maybe it's just me. And maybe me and my family have a whole dark way of dealing with stuff and making people laugh while they're in the middle of pain. But her emotions didn't seem real. They seemed so forced when she talks to her family, when she's trying to like convey emotion. Like, just say, I'm here for you. What do you need? And like, I'm here for you, Spock. Like, what are you trying to tell me? No, that's not real. You're not having an actual conversation with your brother right now. You're forcing emotion to come out. Like, I just don't believe it.
Do you think that's because she's 100% human, but grew up on Vulcan. So she has like Vulcan-like tendencies. So she's having a hard time I don't know, bridging feelings and communicating feelings. I don't know. That's how I tried to I try to justify this acting in my role in my head. Like this, how the actress is acting this out. Like maybe it's just a hard time because of like Michael had to turn off feelings, and that was hard to naturally do for her. And she's still trying to balance all that. And
well, she need to get a handle on that because it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. At least for me. But again, people, we also know that I'm dead inside, so we'll see what happens.
I would like to bring up one more thing though. They were able to break out from Section 31 fairly easily. And I was like, of all places in Starfleet, like that should have had the top-notch security. I don't understand. Oh, first of all, they were able to break out of the medical facility, and then she was able to get Michael out, and then she was able to get to her transport, and there was like not like I don't understand. Like there wasn't some way in which like I don't know, transporters can go in and out of Section 31 at any time. She doesn't need permission. There's not like a force field around. I don't.
Do you know what you're saying? Do you know what you're speaking? You're speaking the truth because that didn't make no sense. So guys, we're talking about the other half of this episode, all about what's going on in Discovery while Michael is gone. And so the Discovery team, they come across this like anomaly out in space. And it's a space-time anomaly because at first I didn't realize what's going on until Tyler comes onto the bridge talking to Pike out the side of his neck saying, hey, anything that's to do with Spock is Section 31. And Pike is still like, boy, if you don't get out my face. Pike looked like he wanted to slap homeboy into like the next in like the next universe, like
especially with the attitude that Tyler had when he like tossed over his badge to Pike, and Pike was like, the chair outweighs the badge.
Like,
yeah,
dude. And then everyone sort of sees that replayed again in front of them because of the time anomaly, and so they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We need to investigate this. And so they realize they can't take the ship any closer to the anomaly because they don't want anything bad to happen. So Pike's like, I'm gonna get into one of the ships, smaller ones, and we're gonna go out and investigate it. And really, there is no need for him to do this. He's like, I was a test pilot, when I started Starfleet, so I know how to fly those things. There's really no reason still for the captain to be the one behind the wheel. And Tyler ends up going with him. And I will say, Tyler did make a good point by saying Pike is just doing all this extra stuff trying to atone for the fact that he wasn't there for the war. Even though it really wasn't his decision to sit out of the war. It was Starfleet's decision to stay out of the war because by the time they got there, they may have been coming back to nothing. So what's the point of coming home just to die? But we see while they're on the ship that they're, it was dumb for them to be put together because they hate each other. Well, I won't say they hate each other. Pike strongly dislikes Tyler. Tyler is just trying to do his job, but Pike makes a point to tell him, like, the reason I don't like you is because you killed a member of this team, of this crew, and you got away with it. And regardless of the fact that you can't get rid of the Klingon inside of you, he's still there. Like, Pike doesn't 100% trust him because who knows what could happen? Who knows if Volk may one day, it's just Volk's consciousness is just like biding his time to like gain some power and then like gain control over Tyler's body again. Like, we don't know what could possibly happen. And Pike is just not letting Tyler out of it. But while they're on the ship, we also see like while they get closer, they shoot off a probe into the time anomaly. And while they're like sort of flying, Pike turns around and sees himself, a different version of himself from a different set of time, almost shooting Tyler. And he's like, what is going on? And I thought for a second it's gonna be because like Volk, because of the time thing, they regressed back to a time where like Volk was trying to take over Tyler. I didn't know what was gonna happen. But it's just like that whole scene was very chaotic, in my opinion. Like that, the whole Discovery part of the episode was very chaotic. What did you think of it?
So like you, I was wondering, Pike, why are you, of all the crew members on the ship, why are you volunteering for this? And I also don't understand why anyone has to go. It seems like there should be some sort of other droid they could send with the probe to do this, or Arium. It seems like it's a high risk mission to send two humans out. They also have those really cool pods that we saw a few episodes ago that seems to be more agile. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember those round circular pod things, but that would have been perfect for this mission. I don't understand. And I guess they needed some conflict. They needed to, in order for conflict to happen, you need two people in a scene sometimes for dialogue for that. But I just thought, I expect them to have better technology to do these types of things than Star Trek.
And you would be correct. But we also see the probe that they sent out comes back because the little mini ship that they're in gets lost in the time stream. And Discovery is like, this research mission has now become a rescue mission, which I feel like every mission goes from research to rescue. It's crazy, right?
Right.
And Saru comes up with a good point that Stamets sort of stays out of time loops. Because of his Terragrade DNA that he got from injecting himself with stuff that he shouldn't have, he can sort of outstand time loops, because we remember that he brings up the Harry Mudd episode where Harry Mudd kept him in that time loop and only Stamets was able to stay out of it. And so Tilley goes to get Paul, and he's like trying to figure out, he's like, what it's like trying to get a piece of what do you say, like a piece of grain in a twister with a pair of tweezers.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that Starfleet keep making, or Star Trek keeps making these huge analogies and then still comes up with a solution. I was like, could you not make it seem so impossible like every single time? I'm gonna be honest, you try catching a piece of grain in a hurricane with some tweezers, and then like an hour later, oh, we figured it out. Then obviously it wasn't what you just said it was.
Right. Oh yeah, they're able to figure out a lot of things really quickly. And I don't understand how Pike and Ash changed their clothes so quickly for this mission to their away mission. It's like, what? I thought this was the urgency, sense of urgency here, and they changed their uniforms. But yeah. I don't understand time, but that's part of this episode.
So then we see that the probe that they had launched to understand the time variance or whatever's going on comes back and is a lot more advanced. And they say it's from 500 years in the future, which is very interesting because they launched it like 10 minutes ago. And they're under attack, and Paul is able to track where they are, and it shows how their anomalies are coming up, and it's showing up how like this happened years ago, this happened this year, this happened a week ago, this happened last week. And because he's able to track it, he tells Tilley, you're going to beam me onto a ship that should be impossible, and you're going to beam me on there so I can steer them home. Which, again, you said this was like finding a piece of dust in a hurricane with tweezers. So
right.
I think Tilley is well within her right to be like, hey, what is going on right now?
Right. And she's a junior officer in charge of these calculations to ensure that this happens. Wow.
Like, hey, pre-K pause. We need to stop, rewind, and explain this to me, because I understand that we have a short amount of time for this window before it's gone. But if I do this wrong, you're gone.
Right.
So in whole Starfleet, Star Trek way, he gets onto the ship very randomly. It was such a chaotic scene that like I had to watch it twice to fully understand what was happening, because the probe was attacking the ship. Pike realizes what he saw was him trying to save Tyler, not him trying to kill Tyler. Then Paul jumps in. He's like, but I'm not really here now. I'm here 10 minutes in the future. And he's like, I'm piloting the ship, Starfleet. Discovery, you know, come get, like, figure out where we are and then like beam us all off. And it was just like, if you could have done it that quickly, why, like, if you could have located them, why couldn't you just send them what to do? Like, why did you have to go onto the ship? I don't know. It seemed very, very, like, that whole scene seemed very chaotic, and I just didn't fully understand it. What did you think about that whole scene of him just trying to get on to the ship?
I thought that was the biggest risk ever, because you have Paul, priceless. Captain Pike, one of the best captains, priceless. You got Ash, yeah, but you got the three of them involved in this, and there's so many unknowns with the anomaly. That's why it's an anomaly, and the Red Angel, and whoever knows what else is going on. And then that probe turned into like this octopus kind of thing, like with advanced technology. So who knows what could have happened there. That was a really big risk. I'm surprised, but I also thought in the back of it, they're not going to kill off all three characters at the same time. That would break everyone's heart. So they're finding their way out of this somehow. But that was crazy. So the probe also ended up attacking like the the comms.
Yeah, and was like
the
trying to download.
Units.
Yeah, he was trying to download stuff from Starfleet. And so this is where they don't make sense, because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And they had Arium, which, whatever isms, I apologize. She's not an organic organism. She is like a robot, right? Like, that's my understanding of what she is. She's like she's like a robot, a very smart robot, but like a one with AI. But she's wires, okay, and like a hard whatever all the parts are. Sorry, people, but don't put her next to a probe that's trying to hack Starfleet. Don't put her in charge, because the moment she said, "I will try and stop it from hacking, blocking out his access to Starfleet," I was like, "Yeah, you're gonna get hacked. You're about to get hacked, because you can be hacked because you are a robot." Right. I'm sorry to say, like, right. You are. And so like, it was like, don't make the robots try to stop the other robot when there are other robots trying to hack Starfleet. And we are right, because as they're fighting as Paul is trying to get them out of this time stream, the probe realizes what it's doing and pushes it back into the time stream. And so Paul is screaming, "Beam us out, beam us out, beam us out." And they're trying to all get out. And then while it's happening, you see Arium. I think that's the Arium. And you see her being hacked in live time. And I was like, I called it. I was like, yep, you shouldn't have had the robot stop another robot from hacking. Like, I know she's more than a robot. She's AI. I know she's so much more than that, but.
And the databases, I think, for Discovery also has the centuries of knowledge from that sphere, from a few episodes ago. So now this probe has a lot more information than just Discovery, maybe a little bit of insights about Section 31, maybe a little bit of information about the other dimension. This is a major breach. Yes, because there's stuff that Discovery knows that other Starfleet doesn't know. The rest of Starfleet doesn't know. So it's definitely a little sneaky, very sneaky. And then we see that Pike admits to Tyler that, like, you were right. I was acting all I'm strong man because we missed out on the war, and I'm trying to make up for it, which, again, not your fault. So dude, like, chill. Like, you wouldn't have made it back in time anyway. So, like, no matter what, you wouldn't have been a part of the war. Chill. And then because of that, he starts to side with Tyler when it comes to the Red Angel. And I think it's dumb for him to do that. I don't think it's dumb for him to be wary of the Red Angel. I think it's dumb to be on, like, Tyler's side regarding the Red Angel, because Tyler isn't on Starfleet's side fully. He's on Section 31 side. So, like,
I will say this, not that he's not on Starfleet side, he's not on Discovery side when it comes to the Red Angel. He's on Section 31's side. So Discovery can be very wary of the Red Angel, but they need to come up with their own plan. Tyler cannot have anything to do with Discovery's plan for the Red Angel, because Section 31's plan and Discovery's plan could be very different. Section 31 may want to abuse the power. So
yes, I also think that if I remember correctly, that's the main reason why Captain Pike is on the USS Discovery. He joined like 7 episodes ago to in search of the Red Angel to find out more. So if Starfleet also has asked Section 31 to look into the Red Angel and Captain Pike, they must want 2 different angles, right? Or more research than just Section 31, because otherwise, why change the Enterprise and Discovery's missions to focus on this? So I can see why it would be good for Pike to have some impartiality, some separation. But part of me in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe the writers did this so that there's less conflict between the 2 of them, or maybe Pike is just like, wants to have a little truce or move on with his relationship with Ash. But in the end, I'm proud of Pike for admitting that it was his interests. He was separated from the war, so he wanted to be involved. And
yeah, I'm very proud of Pike for that. I am very proud of Pike for that. And I'm very also, I want Pike to have, like you said, like an open mind about what's going on with the Red Angel. But I just don't want him to agree with Tyler. I don't want them to be on the same page, because Tyler is now Section 31. And while we fell in love with him on the Discovery and he broke our heart on the Discovery, we can't really trust Section 31, because as Georgiou points out, when Leland tries to call her out for basically letting Michael escape, and she throws a face, check the cameras. Honey, y'all both know you helped her escape. She lets a little bit of a informational bomb drop on us. And I feel like it was tied back to a couple episodes where she when like Leland tried to call her out for something, and she said, "Oh, but remember, when you killed the wrong ambassador," and that started like a whole like a war thing or something like that. And it may be connected to what she just said, because she drops the bomb that Leland is responsible for the death of Michael Burnham's parents. And we don't know if that's directly or indirectly. It may not have anything to do with the wrong ambassador being killed, but whatever happened to Michael's parents, he's responsible for. So now the question is he responsible directly? Like, did he want them killed? Or was it an accident and he like feels guilty about it? Like, did he get innocent people killed, or did he kill them intentionally? So that's one of the mysteries that this episode leaves us reeling with. And also that now Michael and Spock are traveling to Talos 4, because the numbers that Spock has been repeating on repeat all episode are actually, the numbers are backwards. And so Michael figures it out, and they figure out it's in Talos 4, and that's where they're heading now. And then she does in her very super emotional voice, "I'm working, like I'm here for you, brother." Like, okay, dude, like chill, like calm down. So what what do you think about what like the ending of this episode?
Plot thickens for sure. I was thinking, oh my goodness, that was like a big mic drop moment when there's a connection between Leland and Michael Burnham's parents. Oh my goodness gracious, this is definitely a soap opera. I'm also wondering if like there's conflict between Pike and Leland. There's a lot of other dynamics here. So I want to know what happened that really separated Spock and Michael from communicating with each other over the years. And
whatever she did to that boy, she hurt him. She hurt him something fierce.
And then the Red Angel goes back from the past, goes to the future. Wonder if the Red Angel is connected to this probe. So I have a lot of unanswered questions. I'm now starting to understand that that's just part of this USS Discovery and this this series, but I feel like there's just constantly more and more questions, and I'm just hoping they don't just wrap them all up in one episode at the very end. I'm hoping there's a gradual information that they share.
Oh my God, if they make us wait till the last episode of the season to get all the answers, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna be real upset.
Because I feel like there was a lot rushed in this episode.
Yeah.
Like this episode could have been 2 episodes.
It definitely could have been. It could have been one episode fully about Spock and then one about the time anomaly. I definitely think that's why I felt like that scene in the time anomaly was so chaotic and rushed. It just seemed so, I don't know. This Star Trek has a habit of making an impossible, like saying things are impossible and then figuring out within the same episode. And I feel like it's taking away from the belief. Granted, it is in the future. This is fiction, and anything can happen in sci-fi. Anything can happen, but don't say it's impossible. It can't be done, and then you do it.
Right.
Because whenever you make higher stakes, I don't expect, like, I'm not expecting there to be real stakes anymore after a while. After you keep saying it's impossible, and then you do it. So I hope they get a handle on that. I hope they say, oh, this is impossible. We can't figure it out. And then maybe take an episode or 2 episodes to figure out the problem. Don't say we only have 4 hours to figure out how to do something that is virtually impossible. And there's no way. And if we don't figure it out in 4 hours, they're going to die. Eventually, you have to let people die. Then I watch the show with more of a, all right, like how are they going to get out of it? It's like the Game of Thrones. I want more of a Game of Thrones feel. As in, and by that, I don't mean like the show, but like the writer had like a experience. I think it was an article where he said, eventually, if you don't let like a character die, no one's going to believe anyone's possible of death anymore. Like if you if you have your main character walk into a room with 20 assassins and then he walks out a chapter later, it's like, really? Not one nick? Like you want them to, I want to fear for my characters' lives. Otherwise, I'm just like, all right.
I understand what you're saying, because in the first 3 episodes of season 1, lots of characters died. There was Connor, there was Giorgio, there was the security chief, there was a whole and it looked like no one was safe. Now it's like, yeah, they'll bring them back in some other way if it's not really them. So
yeah. And I mean, like, Hugh's death destroyed me. Yeah. I was so, and granted, don't get me wrong, people, I'm very happy that he is back. But the fact that they actually allowed him to die forward, it made us grieve. It made us fear for the characters. But if they are always in a life or death situation and nothing bad ever happens to them, how am I supposed to believe, like, why do I believe any danger they're going to be in the future? Right. And I don't know. Maybe, again, I'm dead inside. Maybe I'm just a cynic. I don't know.
So speaking of Hugh, I was thinking about Hugh when Paul volunteered to beam on board during this whole time anomaly. When he agreed to beam on board the shuttle during the time anomaly, I was thinking, really, I wonder what Hugh thinks about all these dangerous missions now, right?
Yeah.
And if that's a different mindset now that he passed away, but then now he's alive again. If he views death and life more preciously, right?
Murdered,
Sorry?
not passed away.
Murdered. Okay.
I feel like passed away is like, oh, I died in my sleep. No, you were murdered, dude.
Right. Well, by the guy that's on this away mission, right? So
I was thinking Tyler was going to die this episode, and I was actually looking forward to it. Yeah. I thought he was going to get left behind and like,
because it seemed like Hugh and Lorca were in a disagreement about how far to push Paul with travel and everything. And so now it seems like, Paul can make all these decisions, but really if he's part of a family that's going through some trauma right now, maybe you need to take a little less risk with your
Yes.
So that was a little weird for me. And I'm looking forward to circling back to Hugh. I miss Hugh. I miss Jet. So there's a few characters I'm like, what happened?
Jet would have been so much fun in this episode.
And let's talk about some of these other, sprinkle these other characters in.
Yes. I think Jet would have been amazing in this episode.
Yeah.
There's so much. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. I agree with that. That whole sentiment, except that Paul was murdered. He did pass away. Sorry, dude.
Yes,
he got murked.
Yes.
Well, we've come to the end of the episode. So let us know. Reach out to us. Let us know. Our Instagram and all our following information is all in the episode description. So let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? But as always, live long and prosper.
Bye.